Hi, good evening, everybody. Welcome to a session of Easy Dharma for the New Normal. Okay, today we'll continue on with Introduction to Buddhism on the second chapter, actually, part 2 of this book by Geshe Kelsang. So this chapter it's short, but it's very interesting because it's about the mind. It is one of the things that I thought that understanding the mind, sorry. What I've thought that it's my favorite line in a sense that it helps us to understand how we operate, how we are, and in our behavior, our emotions, from the standpoint of karma, from the standpoint of how what the Buddha said about how we think. So what's interesting is usually religion and spiritual practice have very little to do with understanding the mind. But in Buddhism, it's different from the others in that sense. It has a very advanced understanding. It has very introspective look and exploration into the mind. All right, so before we begin, let me see who is on. I hope I'm online. I think I am. I don't see anything. Kechara. Okay, just let me check my live streaming online first, right? On my laptop. Yes, I'm online and I see some people viewing. It's loading. Yes, good. Okay, I better turn off the sound. And yeah. Okay, I can see you guys now. Mr. Lam, good evening. Jillian, good evening. Kelvin, good evening to you. And Wade, Bodhisattva Wade. And it's very, very interesting. And Jerry, thank you for the definition, Wade. And Tara Luca, thank you for joining us. I think you're new. So today we'll be doing Introduction to Buddhism. And I'm on my second chapter right now. So it's Understanding the Mind. Okay, before I even begin, there's already some comment. The definition of consciousness is clarity and it functions to cognize. Wonderful. Yes, there's a very technical explanation about it. Let's go through on an introductory level, okay? So here we go. Buddha taught that everything depends upon the mind. To realize this, we must first understand the nature and function of the mind. At first, this might seem to be quite straightforward since we all have minds and we all know what state our mind is in, whether it's happy or sad, clear or confused, and so on. However, if someone were to ask us what the nature of our mind is and how it functions, and we would probably not be able to give a precise answer. This indicates that we do not have a clear understanding of the mind. Some people think that the mind is the brain or some other part or function of the body, but this is incorrect. The brain is a physical object that can be seen with the eyes and that can be photographed or operated on in surgery. The mind, on the other hand, is not a physical object. It cannot be seen with the eyes, nor can it be photographed or repaired by surgery. The brain, therefore, is not the mind, but simply part of the body. I think this is pretty straightforward in the sense that it's also established that the mind and the brain, as in the organ, the brain organ, is two separate things. Our body, the brain represents our body, and also our mind is two separate entities. Okay, so it's quite established, and maybe I think it is linked, but it is not fused as in one entity. Okay, because some people may have the wrong understanding or conception, but I think most people are familiar with that already. So what's interesting is it talks about a few things. It talks about the nature and function of the mind. So generally, when we talk of nature and function, we think, oh, it's about how we feel. It's about the emotions of our time, that we feel at the moment. Whether we're happy, we're sad, whether things are clear to us or what's happening, or we are confused. All right, so that's and so off and so forth. So that's basically our general understanding. It is correct, and but there's more to it. All right, and generally, so we have have the understanding of these two aspects. Okay, so it's how we feel, our emotions at the moment is just one aspect of how the mind operates. Okay, and then the mind and the body, although it seemed to be it seemed to be one in nature. We always try to get this feeling of, our body, what do you call this? A union? No, not a union. A synergy or some sort of mind and body and spirit and all. Yeah, it is connected, but it is not the same thing. All right. So that's the most important thing. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Generally, Wade has touched upon it, which is the nature of the mind is clarity. Okay, I think I don't think it will be mentioned much here. Let me see. It might be mentioned. Generally, our mind is, the nature of our mind is clarity. We are normally clear. So clear as in, as we can see things clearly, we understand things clearly, we can perceive things clearly, and things are easily perceived by us, and we understand clearly. Okay, the opposite end of that spectrum is confusion, and confusion comes when we have negative emotions, when we have obscurations, what we call obscurations. The results of our negative emotions and negative actions can cloud our mind with emotions, with problems, with thinking, overthinking, with attachment, with aversion, So all this can create what is known as obscurations. So the easiest way to describe it is our mind is like, I think this has been taught in the classes in Kechara house. Our mind is like a lake. Okay, the lake is it's a body of water, a large body of water, and naturally it is clear. When it's not moving, it is clear. So when it's clear, you can see right through. So it's clarity. The nature is clarity. And then what happens is, unfortunately, because of emotions, because how we operate, so that's just like debris, like stones, like fish, like plants, like, things that fall from the sky, bird droppings and all that. So as over time, it gets accumulated inside the water and the lake becomes muddy. So when it becomes muddy, you cannot see through. So that's obscurations. That's not the nature of our mind. That's not the nature of the lake. That is something that's introduced into the lake. All right? So you have to understand that. Okay, Tara says you have to work. See you later. All right, no problem. You can always watch this again. No, not a problem. Bodhisattva says Prasangika refutes Tetramachian idea of the existence of the mind basis for all. Wade, what you're talking is on a higher level in the sense of coming to the realization of the nature of reality. All right, so there are various schools. We will not touch those at this level. This is just introduction to Buddhism. We will not enter. We're not going to emptiness and the various schools. The mind only and all that, prasangika and all that. All right. So today we'll be talking about the mind on a very introductory level. But thank you very much for your insight and input. All right, let's continue. There is nothing within the body that can be identified as being our mind, because our body and mind are different entities. For example, sometimes when our body is relaxed and immobile, our mind can be very busy, darting from one object to another. This indicates that our body and mind are not the same entity. In the Buddhist scriptures, our body is compared to a guest house, and our mind is a guest dwelling within it. When we die, our mind leaves our body and goes to the next life, just like a guest leaving a guest house and going somewhere else. If the mind is not the brain nor any other part of the body, what is it? It is a formless continuum that functions to perceive and understand objects, because the mind is formless or non-physical by nature. It is not obstructed by physical objects. Thus, it is impossible for our body to go to the moon without traveling in a spaceship, but our mind can reach the moon in an instant just by thinking about it. Knowing and perceiving objects is the uncommon function of the mind. Although we say, I know such and such, in reality, it is our mind that knows. We know things only by using our mind. So basically, it elaborates quite well. It gives you an indication of how a kind of a very simple analogy to identify the separation between your body and your mind, simply by the fact that when your body is at rest, but your mind can be, extremely busy. It can have many thoughts all the time, and at that time, so your mind is totally opposite of your body at that moment, and it can be the other way around. Some people thrive on physical activity, like as in they like to do a lot of things because it's calming. Maybe brainless work, work that involves traveling, involves mechanical work. So it's very calming because it's just the same thing over and over again. It becomes meditative for some people. So although the body is busy, but the mind is calm. So it can be the other way. That's why meditation has progressed in such a way that the Buddha had taught. Meditation can be a sitting form of meditation that we all know, and walking meditation that involves walking. But the idea is the repetitiveness brings the focal point of the mind, focus of the mind. So meditation is actually focusing the mind, all right? So it can be this too, right? And then the other thing is, it gives a description of the mind, which is a continuum. A continuum is like a continuity of thoughts, one thought after another, and it's formless. So there is no form to your mind. It is not in your brain, it is not in your body. So if it's not in your brain and not in your body, where is it? So basically it is in a formless state, all right? But it is linked to your body at this moment by virtue of our karma. By virtue of our karma or our rebirth, is the same thing, synonymous. Okay? So I hope that is clear to you. And so it also gives you an explanation of your body and your mind, the separation between you can travel with your body, but you require a spaceship. But with your mind, you do not need, meaning you think about the moon. So it's a very simple analogy. Some people will debate about it, but just understand it on the basis of the concept of the separation between the body and the mind. All right? Because although it's very, very intimately connected due to karma, due to our rebirth in this existence. So what happens is, but it is not the same thing. The very fact that at the end, to prove to you that it's not the body is also another thing. When we die, what happens? Do our mind dies? No, it does not. There is a continuation after that. And prior to taking rebirth, prior to being born, there is a continuation as well. We came from somewhere before your parents, before we were conceived. Our mind originated from where? It's just that due to obscurations, due to the whole process of taking rebirth, a lot of what happens is we cannot remember. So, but that doesn't mean everybody cannot remember, because there are people around the world today that have memories of the previous life. I'm not talking of Rinpoche's alone, because there are documented cases. It's a field of study. You know what's a field of study? It means that people are doing research, scientific empirical research on cases of people who remember, children who remember their previous lives, and studies are being done because when a few professors or something, they establish this investigation. Initially, I think they initially wanted to debunk it or to understand it, but then it came to a conclusion based on the fact that there's so many cases, thousands and thousands of cases of children who remember previous lives. It's a what do you call it? Statistical proof. Statistical proof means by numbers, by sheer numbers, that previous lives does exist by sheer number. And how they do that is by sheer number is because the cases were authenticated. Each case, the children's was investigated to make sure that the facts that they remember is correct. There was a person who lived in this place, who had this whatever happened to them. And also the other thing is, another level of investigation is to make sure that there's no connection. There's no way that the child could have knew about this person. Some of them, their previous lives from another country. So that's the incredible part. So it is a growing field of study. The only thing is, in science, there's no way to measure how this happens, why this happens. It's just that it happens. People do remember a previous life, and there's no proof that that they faked it. So when that happens, it becomes a fact by statistics. So it's a proof of previous life. Rinpoche has documented this. He has several blog posts on Rinpoche's blog talking about this, and they are talking from the basis of reincarnation alone, with no association with any religion, just purely from research. That's the incredible part. Okay, good evening to Kwang Ming, Tek Lee Ho, Munteng, Jacinta, and Wade. You have something? Yes, that's clear, exactly clear. The moment of disintegration subsequent to continuum of an object, the absence of that thing has effects. Okay. I'm not sure what you're referring to, but that sounds pretty good. And Fun Hei, hope I pronounced your name correctly. Good evening to you guys. Welcome to a session, and it's on understanding the mind. All right. Okay, let's go to the next. Right. There are 3 levels of mind: gross, subtle, and very subtle. Gross minds include sense awarenesses such as eye awareness and ear awareness, and all strong delusions such as anger, jealousy, attachment, and strong self-grasping ignorance. These gross minds are related to gross inner winds and are relatively easy to recognize. When we fall asleep or die, our gross minds dissolve inwards, and our subtle minds become manifest. Subtle minds are related to the subtle inner winds and are more difficult to recognize than the gross minds. During deep sleep, at the end of the death process, the inner winds dissolve into the center of the heart channel wheel inside the central channel, and then the very subtle mind, the mind of clear light, becomes manifest. The very subtle mind is related to the very subtle inner wind and is extremely difficult to recognize. The continuum of the very subtle mind has no beginning and no end. It is this mind that goes from one life to the next, and if it is completely purified by training and meditation, it is this mind that will eventually transform into the omniscient mind of the Buddha. So these 3 levels of mind, this comes from the understanding of the mind from the standpoint of Tantra. All right? There's gross mind. Your awake. This can be translated into your awake state. Right now, the mind that you have right now, your state of mind right now is your gross mind. There's your awake mind, the thoughts that go through your mind, the decisions that you make, what you want to do, how you feel, whether it's good, whether it's bad. It's all gross mind. Okay, so it's your thoughts, it's your feelings, your emotions, everything. Okay, it's your gross mind. Then your subtle mind is more subtle. It's from within. It's your subconscious mind. So what happens is, everything that you do and think in every single day, every single moment in your life, past, present, and future, okay, will be registered in your subconscious, the subtle mind. All right, and this is the mind that comes up when we are asleep during our what is known as REM, rapid eye movement. This is a bit scientific, okay? Where our sleep patterns, when we sleep, is not just one, we can get knocked out and that's it. One whole block of sleep. It's not. It goes into a rhythm. Our sleep. So there's a cycle. This is according to science. There's a cycle. So there's a period of a cycle where we go into very deep sleep, and that's the moment when our eyes start to move a lot. Hence, the name is called rapid eye movement. And that's the time when we dream a lot. Most of our dreams are during this state of rapid eye movement. Okay, so this is the state where your subconscious come up. So some of our dreams can be indicative, or it represents our innermost emotions and feelings that we suppress in the day or that we feel, and the worries and problems that arises. Sometimes during this time, this subconscious is also the moment when it opens our psychic ability. Sometimes we get dreams that are of a portent. It could be a prophetic dream. For some people, it can come true. Some of our dreams, I'm sure some of you have heard, perhaps it's you, perhaps it's your relative, you dream of something, some occurrence, and then it turned out to be true. Okay, that's because your subconscious mind is open, and that's the mind that is sensitive, that's psychic, that can receive messages about the future and all that. Perhaps from our from your protector, if you do practice, from your protector, or it's just from your own sensitivity. Some people are just naturally more sensitive. All right, so we will not dwell on that. And then the subtlemost part of the mind is where all your karma are stored. So your actions and thoughts and all that will sink in deep, subconscious, and then from your subconscious sink into your subtlemost mind. That is the mind that is imprinted with all your negative karma. And that is the mind, actually, that is our Buddha nature. It's a clear light. Its nature is clarity. Its nature is brightness, brilliance. Its nature is compassion, natural compassion. So that part of the mind is imprinted all our karma, and that's why what happens is, because it's so much of lifetimes of karma, of selfishness, of negative emotions, so it's very heavy and clouded. So when we do practices of purification, we are trying to reach that part of the mind. Actually, most of our karma is on the subconscious mind and all that, but to reach the part to purify it completely requires us a lot of practice, requires to realize quite of the higher teachings that actually what Wade was talking about that the mind doesn't exist and emptiness and all that, is to reach that part of the mind. All right, so that's all we need to know at this point. Oh, this another thing about this subtlemost is it appears to us for people who had passed away and in return. Have you heard of people with NDE, near-death experience? Meaning they've passed away, they're clinically dead. Sometimes it's just a few seconds, sometimes it's a few minutes, and then they resuscitated and they come back to life. And when they come back to life, they will tell you that, they have an experience. They enter a tunnel and they see a bright light. And that light has a feeling, it's comforting, it feels good. That is your subtle mind, subtlemost mind emerging at the point of death. All right, so during that time, your subtlemost mind is emerging, and I hope I think you should be on, right? Yeah, our subtlemost mind is emerging, and from it, sometimes emerges, it depends on your belief system. Some of us, it's God, it's Jesus, it's Buddha, it's your Dharma protector, whatever it is. But actually, it is your mind. And then for some people, it's a relative. It's a dead relative. It's a mother, a father, whom come to greet us. And actually, is at that moment, advanced meditators will use that moment There's a very brief window, that you're actually looking at your natural state of mind. For advanced meditations, they use that window to engage in certain practices in order to achieve enlightenment. So, but for us, we probably will not recognize it at the moment. So we need to train further, to reach the part, the kind of a training of mind, that of awareness, of meditation, of practice, of compassion, of wisdom, to be able to recognize that moment. Because at that moment, it's a very short moment before everything finishes, and then we have to take a rebirth already. We have to take what you call a bardo rebirth. All right, bardo is the intermediate state. Before you take a final rebirth into it's usually 49 days. So during that time is known as bardo, antara bhava in Sanskrit. It is the time where you will be floating like a formless being, and you will be taking. Apparently, what I've read is you take a few rebirths, you die and take rebirth. So it's a very confusing moment. And during that time, you're tossed away and you're waiting for your karma to ripen. So when your karma ripens, you will take a rebirth. For us, unenlightened beings, for us ordinary beings, we depend heavily at that moment upon our karma and a collection of merit. Our karma, because we are unenlightened, so our karma is very heavy. So in this life, the karma that we have done, and the collection of merit is, so it's how do you say, it's like a balance law. It depends which is heavier, which will take, and then it depends on our faith and practice. So at the moment of death, it's very important to focus. Not, for some people who know they're going to die, what they do is, they go on a holiday. I want to go on holiday. I want to see the world. I want to taste all the food before I cannot anymore. It's not. If you know Dharma, if you don't know Dharma, that's that's what most people think. If you know Dharma and you still do that, then it's not very wise, because you're not preparing for your next life. You're not. In fact, you're making your journey more difficult. So at the point of death, don't go on a holiday. Yes, go on a short break maybe, but focus your time, your remaining time left on earth, right, on practice, on Dharma work. Perhaps you're not the meditative type, on Dharma work, of collecting merit, sponsoring some Dharma projects, Buddha statues, doing your retreats, meditation retreats. Come to a place like Kechara Forest Retreat. I'm not, no, this sounds like a commercial break, but it's not. Circumambulation, collect merits, read Dharma books, do some light meditation, do your sadhanas, connect with Dorje Shugden. For Rinpoche, what he does is, for people who are dying, most of the time he will do Dorje Shugden pujas, most of the time. Unless the person who is passing away is connected to another particular Buddha. Otherwise, he will do Dorje Shugden, because he says Dorje Shugden is very effective. And he said, he always tells people who are dying that usually when the person has just died, they are still hovering, their mind is still there. It's just that the body is dead, but the mind is still there. So he will speak to them. He will always tell the person who had just passed away or about to pass away that when you see a monk, follow the monk. Follow this monk to your next rebirth. Relax, let go. Your family will be fine. Let go already. You have passed away. So for people who are thinking they will not, they're approaching the next life, so to speak, it's not about having fun anymore, because you have had all the fun already. Time to prepare. And in fact, our whole life, actually, we don't need to wait for the time when we're going to die. We should do it now. We don't have to be fanatical. We should do our sadhanas at the very least. Do some offerings, learn the Dharma, and start. This is preparation, because all of us will reach there. all of us will reach the point where we will pass away, or we will know someone who would, and we can give good advice. Not, oh, go enjoy yourself. No, don't do that. That is not dharmic. That is not really preparing them, because you don't know when you go and enjoy it. You think what's wrong with going and enjoying ourselves? Inherently, there's nothing wrong, but from a karmic level, it's very bad. Because why? When we go and enjoy ourselves, we are increasing our attachments. When we go on a holiday, don't you feel sad when it ends? Don't you feel you want to enjoy yourself the rest of your life? That's attachment. So when there's attachment, it will open, especially when it ends, meaning when the person passes away, the attachment will open a very bad karma. Okay, so attachments, especially at the end of our life, is very, very sensitive. We shouldn't indulge in so much attachments anymore already. So that during the time, we should start to let go. Okay, that's what it means to let go. And that moment is very crucial. Okay, so thank you very much. Oh, I've got some comments. Let me see. Good. Tenzin Kyapsum. Oh, Sawarumchi. Tashidele. And Kinho. Okay, I have a question, I think, from Mr. Lam. Pastor, so the key to controlling our mind is to manage our subtle mind fully. So therefore, we need to purify our negative karma completely so that our gross mind is put aside for our subtle mind to be dominant. Is this right? Okay, in order to reach your subtle mind, to purify it, so to speak, is to engage in practice, engage in awareness. Simple meditations, breath meditations are very, very powerful at the beginning. It's very, very powerful. And to have awareness and to have, that is on a practice level. There's another way to reach that part also, which is to refrain from negative actions. Okay, negative actions like killing, like stealing, all the 10 negative non-virtuous actions that that's talking about in Lamrim. That's got nothing to do with doing Dharma. Formal Dharma is to refrain from negative actions. Because negative actions actually create negativities, negative karma, that would obstruct your subtle mind and your especially your subtlemost mind. So what happens is, it's important to also conduct ourselves well, have awareness. Most important is, don't just, the 10 non-virtues, cannot this, cannot that, it's like a school teacher telling ourselves. No, you don't do that, because you know why? I'm saying this is because when it's cannot this, cannot that, it's very strict. It's like, it's very bad. It's like, for some people, it works. For many people, it does not, because we will sometimes slip, and then we get into a guilt trip and all that. We feel, I can't control myself, and then what for control anymore, and then just go down the rabbit hole and just let loose. No. The 10 non-virtues have awareness of why we have to control our body, our speech, our mind. Why we cannot lie, we cannot steal, we cannot this, we cannot that. It's to have an awareness of our actions, and always to make sure that our actions are not for, just enjoying ourselves and pleasuring ourselves, and just for us, to make us feel good, to benefit ourselves. We should have awareness that having that kind of actions and thoughts lead us to suffering. So we should re-guide our actions, our thoughts, towards being more altruistic, towards having a higher motivation, not just ourselves. All right, this is not just for you guys. When I'm telling you, I feel like I'm telling myself too. All right, so it is practice, it is understanding in order to reach that part of the you're talking about. All right, thank you. Let me see. Let's go on. It is very important to be able to distinguish unpeaceful states of mind from peaceful states. States of mind that disturb our inner peace, such as anger, jealousy, and desirous attachment, are called delusions. These are the principal causes of all our suffering. We may think that our suffering is caused by other people, by poor material conditions, or by society. But in reality, it all comes from our own deluded states of mind. The essence of Dharma practice is to reduce and eventually to completely eradicate all our delusions and to replace them with peaceful and virtuous states of mind. This is the main purpose of training in meditation. Normally, we seek happiness outside ourselves. We try to obtain better material conditions, a better job, a higher social status, and so on. But no matter how successful we are in improving our external situation, we still experience many problems and much dissatisfaction. We never experience pure lasting happiness. In his Dharma teachings, Buddha advises us not to seek happiness outside ourselves, but to establish it within our mind. How can we do this? All right, so this portion of the chapter, let me see, just one more page. This portion of the chapter talks about our state of mind. So we have both peaceful and unpeaceful or disturbed state of mind, confusion. So hence, there's only two states of mind we're talking about. One is confusion, one is clarity. Remember, clarity, clear. So the clarity and peace. When there's clarity, there's peace of mind. Hence, when you see a still lake, you feel calm. When you see the sky, you see nature, it's calmness. It brings calm to our mind. When it's clear, when everything is clean, when it's Zen, So the idea of Zen, the Zen environment, where in interior design, where everything is clean, order, pristine, pure, it evokes an emotion in us when we see it. So it evokes clarity. It invokes peace of mind. So peace of mind comes from when our mind is still, when our mind is calm. Usually that is established when we are focused. When we focus on something, especially when we focus on something that's peaceful. Sorry, my mistake. On virtue. Something that's virtuous. For example, when we focus on benefiting someone, doing Dharma work, benefiting someone, doing our sadhanas. I know some of you may not fully agree. Maybe for you it's a chore. But ultimately, sadhana, meditation, practice, when we do retreats, you say, oh, how can this lead to peaceful state of mind? It's so difficult. I have so many thoughts in mind. That's because your whole life has been on samsara, on distractions, on what's called the opposite of peace of mind? Unpeaceful. Confusion lah. Basically, the word would be confusion, because our confusion comes with, when we in daily lives, when we go to work, we're so used to it, So when we have to stay still and do our practice, we have a lot of obstacles, we have a lot of difficulty because we're so used to a confused state of mind. So hence, ultimately, this confused state of mind, no matter how beautiful it is, our attachments, beautiful things and that we are attached to, ultimately it leads to more confusion. It leads to more wanting, craving. It leads to more insecurity. It leads to when how things will change. We're worried about that. When we have something we're attached to, we're worried that we will lose it. We're worried that it decays. It grows old. Like someone we are attached to. Or they're not so beautiful anymore. We're worried that we have a lot of worries, real insecurities. When we have a lot of worries, a lot of insecurities, it shows that you have huge attachments, especially when it comes to something that we are attached to, that is on a material, worldly basis. All right. So so that is those two states of mind. So how do you accomplish it? One of the main ways of accomplishing peaceful states of mind is meditation. Not many ways of meditation. The basic way is not on something virtuous, it's just on the breath, which is neutral, which is fine because it establishes concentration. On the breath meditation is very powerful to establish concentration, but there's no merits involved, there's no purification involved. None. You do not purify karma by meditation, by the way. So please understand what breath meditation does for us, okay? When we engage in breath meditation, there is a lot of benefits, but it doesn't do two things. It doesn't accumulate merits for us that brings us to enlightenment. It does not. It does not. It does not also purify karma. It does not. What you're doing is you're establishing concentration. From concentration, a lot of benefit can come. From concentration, we can develop a deeper understanding with ourselves. Sometimes we can come to some realizations about things, about Dharma realizations, sometimes more lower level realizations, not high level realizations. So it can calm our mind, it can calm us from our anxiety, it can calm us of negative emotions, some negative emotions. So it has a lot of benefit, but it doesn't accumulate merit, it doesn't purify karma. That's why in practice, it would be better to meditate on something that is of virtue. A virtue, for example, like a Buddha, like Lama Tsongkhapa, Manjushri, Tara, Dorje Shukden. And there's few ways. The main way is meditating by recitation of the mantra, focusing on the sound. And that's on the first level. When you go higher, you can meditate on their form. Okay, the form, the way they appear. And then when you're following the tradition of the visualizations in the Ganden Lagyama or the Guru Yoga of Lama Tsongkhapa, when you reach that level, there's a lot of benefits, more than just establishing concentration. Okay, so it's very powerful. Okay, let me see. Hello, Jonathan. Hi, I just joined in. Is this also able to deal with anger towards a few people who do me harm? Meditation? Oh, yes. If you have people who had harmed you before, at the moment, it's very difficult to let go of your anger, your resentment, and your wish to fight back, to seek revenge, for vengeance. Okay, it's very difficult. So it's good to calm your mind, engage in practice. Actually, Lama Tsongkhapa, since we're talking about Lama Tsongkhapa is one of the most powerful and effective ways to alleviate from anger. All right. So yeah, and or you can what can be done is you don't need to do all. In the book, it's recommended you do all these visualizations, but for a beginner, for people who's not very used to meditating and visualizing, because maybe it's too complicated for a beginner, recitation of the mantra. For Lama Tsongkhapa, the mantra is Miksema. The long mantra is Miksema. The shorter one will be the name mantra of Lama Tsongkhapa. Okay, so you can either this or even just Manjushri's mantra, which is a shorter form of Lama Tsongkhapa, which is the original form of Lama Tsongkhapa, Om Arabazanadi. So yes, it is possible to, especially for anger. All right. Okay. Anyway, I kind of digress. And in life, what we do is we have been doing in the past, we are doing it right now, and we will do in the future, seek happiness outside. We're always looking for what kind of happiness outside? We're always looking for an ideal situation, meaning a good job, money, security, family, loved ones. We're always looking for that. Always our whole pillar in our life is our family, our job, our business, our money, our investments. These have been a security our whole life. All right, maybe not at the beginning when the beginning was just family, then it grew into your business your career your money your bank account, your investments, and so forth and so forth. Your car, it's become your extension of your security. You have it, you feel secure. If you don't have it, you feel something is wrong. For some people, I say car because for some people it's a status thing. So all this is seeking happiness outside of ourselves. But actually, happiness does not come from these things, having these things. It does not come from that. We know that. Yes, we know that. But we're so caught up in it that we ignore ourselves. We ignore the fact that we know it doesn't bring happiness. We don't care because we still strive for it again and again and again and again. Ultimately, you know what? It does not. This does not help us when we pursue it again and again. And some of us, our pursuit of happiness from the outside is so strong that we neglect people, we neglect our spirituality, we neglect our health. For some of us, more extreme, our health in pursuit of career, in pursuit of money, investments, and so forth. So that's a clear indication of how strong our attachment is. But actually, we don't really need those things. So on the flip side, if knowing all this, is it possible to give it all up at this point? Probably not, because our attachment is so ingrained, so strong. It's for many lifetimes. For us to give up, it's very, very near impossible. Not impossible, near impossible. If you do pursue it anyway, sometimes you may flip. Because sometimes you're forced into a situation where, like a business crash, your business all collapse, and you've got nothing from a big Mercedes. You are downgraded to a Kanchil. You cannot even, they don't even make Kanchils anymore. Kanchil is a small car in Malaysia. It's one of the cheapest cars in Malaysia. So from the top of the range Mercedes car that probably costs like, $1 million or something, I don't know, whatever. And then you're downgraded to the cheapest Kanchil. So what happens is a lot of people, they cannot take it. And ultimately, nothing really changes, actually. It's just external. But because we have grounded our identity on these things, we grounded the idea of happiness on these things, it becomes a pillar, of our happiness, that our imaginary happiness, that when it crumbles, we crumble as well. Emotionally, we crumble. Our whole mind crumbles for some people. That's why some people commit suicide and all that. So in Buddhism, it tells you this. These are not ultimately will bring you happiness. It does not. Okay, so I hope I'm still online. And let me see. Yes, I'm still online because it just went off for a moment. So it does not really bring us happiness, but we have grounded it that it does, and it's become so solid. It's so real. It's such a pillar. It's a pillar. I'm using this word because someone told me it is. It's like a pillar in their life. So I thought, oh, okay, it matches. It's a pillar and it's, when it crumbles, our whole life crumbles. So but ultimately, it's just our attachments, our very strong attachments. So Chung has this to say to Mr. Lam. There are various ways to describe this, but Rinpoche uses gross, subtle, and very subtle. Gross mind relates to our senses. Subtle mind relates to our emotions, the result of our projections, that this can be purified. The very subtle mind is a mind stream that is beginningless and endless. No, we cannot completely purify karma. We can only purify enough to have the right conditions to practice. Chung, I have to correct you. You can purify it completely. It is possible. Otherwise, how do we become Buddhas? It is possible to purify. You cannot say it cannot be purified. It can be purified, but ordinary purification practices will not get you there. You have to, the quickest way is to the practice of Tantra. There are various stages in Tantra. When you engage in a meditation, it is possible when you dissolve your winds into your central channel. Okay, it is possible, and to gain bodhicitta and emptiness. By normal way of understanding the philosophy, of understanding the text, and then trying to enact the understanding in our mind as realizations. It's not possible. It is true to purify everything. But to engage in practice of Tantra, it is possible. All right, so it's important that people understand that. Okay, let's continue and finish off. I got one more page. By purifying and controlling our mind through the sincere practice of Buddha Dharma, if we train in this way, we can ensure that our mind remains calm and happy all the time. All the time, then no matter how difficult our external circumstances may be, we will always be happy and peaceful. Even though we work very hard to find happiness, it remains elusive for us, whereas sufferings and problems seem to come naturally, without any effort. Why is this? It is because the cause of happiness within our mind, virtue, the cause is virtue, is very weak and can give rise to its effect only if we apply great effort. Whereas internal causes for suffering and problems, the delusions, are very strong and can give rise to the effects with no effort on our part. This is the real reason why problems come naturally while happiness is so difficult to find. This is very powerful. I repeat this whole paragraph. Everybody, please, if you are listening to me, please pay attention. This is very, very powerful. I think it is important that you listen to this. Listen to this, okay? Even though we work very hard to find happiness, it remains elusive for us, whereas sufferings and problems seem to come naturally without any effort. Why is this? It is because the cause of happiness within our mind, which is virtue, is very weak and can give rise to its effect only if we apply great effort. Whereas the internal causes of suffering and problems, the delusions, are very strong and can give rise to the effects with no effort on our part. This is the real reason why problems come naturally while happiness is so difficult to find. Wow. I don't know how to say it. I don't know. I don't know what you're thinking about what I just read. I think it's so amazing. Don't you think? Why we always have problems after problems after problems? It's because our virtue is very weak. Our merits are very little. We have practiced very little. So in order for us to be happy, to find real lasting happiness, we have to apply a lot of effort in order to find happiness. And then on the other hand, problems come easily all the time. Easily. So it's very powerful. Okay, the word is, even I describe it not as well as it's worded. It says here, our virtue is very weak and can give rise to the effect of virtue is happiness. Okay? Only with great effort it can come. That's why some people, who are practitioners, we complain, so difficult to change. It's so difficult. I'm like that. It's so difficult. Change is not. I cannot lah. It's always cannot this, cannot that, because their virtue is very little. This is not to criticize anybody. This is self-introspection. It is for us to self-examine. This is not to be used to examine other people, to tell them off, to be their judge and jury. No. This is to examine ourselves. Why we have so many problems that we cannot solve, that keep coming back and again in various guises. When we try to solve it, we apply the effort, it's another manifestation of our problems come. It's because our virtue is very little. Even if we've done a lot, perhaps if in our mind, we think we've done a lot of Dharma work, a lot of very little sadhana. Some people, that's the problem, Some people like to think that they do Dharma work, they don't have to do a lot of practice. Some people do a lot of practice and they think they don't have to do any Dharma work. So, actually, by right, we should do as much as we can in whatever capacity that we can. Whether it's Dharma work, whether it's sadhana, whether it's practice, we should do the best that we can. Because why? We need to purify. And we need to purify our mind. We need to purify.
our negative karma. And because we have so much negative karma, so it is important. So the more we purify, the better we can get. Of course, each of us have our own capacity. I'm not saying to do something that we cannot, but sometimes we know we can do more, but we don't, because we're lazy, because we let our distractions take over, because our virtue is small. It is very clear. When we let laziness and all that take over and we don't do what we're supposed to do in our practice and our Dharma work, it's because we are lazy. Sorry, it's because our virtue is small. So it's important to accumulate more. All right? So in order to attack that, oh, I cannot change, or, this is who I am, it is important to realize the root cause of it, which is our virtue is small and our negative karma is huge. So it's natural, it is spontaneous, no effort. It is said here, no effort on our part for negative karma problems and difficulties to arise for us, because our virtue is small. So naturally, by logical basis, what does that mean? It means we need to reverse the order of things. We need to increase our virtue to the point where it overwhelms our negative karma. All right? So hear me out. We need to increase our virtue, our practice, collection of merit, so that it overwhelms our negative karma. Because for us to purify, it will purify forever and ever and ever. It will never end purification. In fact, when we do practice, it will purify karma naturally. So don't do just purification practice. We should do accumulation. We should do retreats on practices to accumulate, to focus on realizations. It will be realizations that will attack this. All right. So that's really powerful. I don't know what you guys think. Let me see what your comments. Any comments? Unfortunately, I got jammed again, as it always does. Thank God the live streaming is not jamming. Chung, you said that's not purification. What are you referring to? Please elaborate, and so we all will learn. Sometimes I make mistakes. It's fine. I'm fine. But it is possible to purify. I do not agree that it's not possible to purify karma. It is possible to purify whatever karma you're talking about, whatever level you're talking about. It is possible to purify all karma. That's the purpose. If you do not purify all karma, you will not be able to achieve enlightenment. The Buddha exists on the basis, the fact that all karma can be completely purified. But on the basis of just doing purification practice to purify all karma, not possible. Not possible, just on the basis of purification alone. Actually, the only way to purify all karma, actually, it is said in the text, is on a very simple level, is on realization of emptiness. When we have realized emptiness, we will purify not just the karma, but not the imprints. So when you want to purify karma and its imprints, you need to realize bodhicitta, the two types of bodhicittas. Then you purify all. All right. So in order to do that, by reading the book, by understanding philosophy, not possible. So by what is possible is the practice of Tantra through our strong devotion to our Lama, a guru, conjoined with, and our samala is clean, combined with our practices, tantric practices, and engage in intense tantric practice. It is possible to achieve that. Many lamas have achieved that on various levels, okay, in the past in Tibet. So you cannot say it's not possible. It is possible. Melvin say Milarepa will be a good example. Yeah, it's true. Milarepa is Milarepa. I find Naropa a nicer, better example, but not so relatable compared to Milarepa. Why I say not so? Because Naropa is a great scholar himself, and then he went in search of his lama in the form of Tilopa. Tilopa was his guru. And then he devoted, and he was treated very harshly. He had to go through many trials and tribulations, 13 in all. 13 big, 13 smaller, I think.
and then he was purified. Milarepa was extraordinary in the sense that he was ordinary just like us. And in fact, he was worse than us. He killed his family because he was taking revenge. And then from the guilt, from the negative karma and all that, his Lama, Marpa, purified him. So I guess a lot of people relate to Milarepa's story because he was just like us, in a sense, ordinary person, and worse than us, in fact. Worse, I wouldn't say just like, worse than us in the beginning, in a sense that he killed. So Marpa, understanding the heavy karma that he has, really, really worked him to the bone, so that he purified his karma. He was not given a single set of teachings, none, no teachings for him from the beginning. Although he kept requesting, but he gave none and told him, work. Your Tao teachings come in the form of working, basically. And so he had to work and build towers, and he had to do a lot. So that is just the story in a nutshell for you guys. So anyway, let me finish. Let me see. Bradley, when Maitreya turns the wheel of Dharma in the future, he will only teach sutra. In that case, how will people gain enlightenment? It is still possible, Bradley. It's always possible by way of sutra. When I say impossible, I don't mean impossible. I mean it's near impossible. Okay, the correct, in a sense that why? Because especially for people of our time right now, because we are what is known as the age of degeneration, where distractions are too powerful right now. So because distraction is too powerful, it is very difficult for people to turn away from distractions, from their attachments. Our age right now, especially now, and it's very clear if you look and you understand what is this degeneration. For those of you online, you should just Google and find out what is the 5 forms of degeneration. Okay, that in the text it says 5 forms of degeneration. It details exactly what kind of degeneration is happening right now, what kind of attachments that we have right now that is so strong that for us to gain enlightenment is very difficult right now. It's very, very difficult. During the Buddha's time, where distractions are far less, merit is more, so it's easier to gain attainments. That's why for many of his students, they didn't do much practice. All they had to do is listen to the Buddha with a receptive mind, and they became arhat already. Immediately became an arhat, a hearer, a person who has gained realization. Literally, they have gained realization. Arhats is usually on the basis that they do not need to take rebirth anymore. They have purified the karma. The imprints are still there, but the karma has been purified by basis of hearing. That's why some of the texts, they don't call the word for arhat. They translate in English as hearer. Gaining realization through hearing is incredible, isn't it? So the merit at that time was incredible. So during Maitreya's time, so you see, when you are nearer the Buddha, it's easier during the Buddha's time. And if you are within his circle, it's almost guaranteed. So that's why we want to connect with Maitreya all the time. Not just be born near him and then just see him and get a blessing. It's to be among his closest circle of students. We want to have that merit. So through Guru Yoga of Lama Tsongkhapa, one of the benefits is we gain that connection. So when we have the connection, it's like an insurance policy, so that in case, when our practice in this lifetime or the future lifetimes, the next 10, 20, don't lead us to some sort of high realization or enlightenment, then we have created the causes to be born among Maitreya's closest circle. Even he does not teach Tantra, but because we are within his close circle, the merit will propel us to gain enlightenment faster. All right? And Mr. Lam says, the explanation of chasing happiness is so elusive is because of our very little store of virtue is simply mind-blowing. To me, it is very, very important, and we must always be aware and not to fall back into our old ways.
I find it powerful, not on a basis that that our virtue is small, on the basis that we always think that we've done enough, that we have enough Dharma work we've done, that we are okay. And sometimes problems keep coming, and then we don't understand why, and then we pray to Dojishin. So actually the real basis is, as you say, our virtue is small and it's too powerful. It's overwhelming. Rinpoche used to say that our karma, literally our karma is like a torrential river pouring down from the top of the mountain, and it comes down towards us. So, and for us, when our little practice, what we can do is most of the time we cannot dam the river, the torrential river. We cannot dam it. It's impossible because it's too powerful, because our negative karma is so powerful. So when you dam it, it'll just explode and then continue on its course. So what happens is, when you do practice, we can divert it. We divert a bit, so when the force hit us, it's not so strong. It doesn't flatten us, and So that's just an allegory. It's just a description that Rinpoche is given to explain how karma works. So because it's so powerful, it's heading towards us, we will experience it. So in order to not experience the full brunt, is to do practices, purification practice, retreats, collection of merit, so to divert it. So, and the most effective way to divert it would be tantric practices. When we have samaya and we keep our commitments, is very powerful because on the nature of the practice itself, which maybe I'll explain another time. All right. Okay. Let me finish with the last paragraph. All right. From this, we can see that the principal causes of both happiness and problems are in the mind. The causes for happiness and problems are in your mind, not in the external world. Not your husband, not your wife, not your kids, not your colleagues, not your friends, not your enemies, not the stock market, all right? Not COVID virus, not the lockdown, not the government, not the country, not the environment. It's in your mind, how you react to the circumstances, all right? Everything is in your mind. This is something we intellectually know, but we haven't realized. If we are able to maintain a calm and peaceful mind all day long, we would never experience any problems or mental suffering. For example, if our mind remains peaceful all the time, then even if we are insulted, criticized, or blamed, or if we lose our job or our friends, we will not become unhappy. No matter how difficult our external circumstances may become, for as long as we maintain a calm and peaceful mind, the situation will not be a problem for us. Therefore, if we wish to be free from problems, there is only one thing to do. Learn to maintain a peaceful state of mind by practicing Dharma sincerely and purely. All right? So, that's the end of the chapter. It is basically to maintain that peace of mind. So basically, believe it or not, even in the most difficult situations, it is possible to be calm and happy. It is possible. And there are some lamas who have achieved that. For us right now, when I show you, and I just show you something, I say something you don't like, immediately your mind will change. Immediately your perspective will change. Your perspective will change about me, about Dharma in general, about Buddhism, maybe Kechara, maybe the pastors, whatever it is, your perspective will change just on the basis of a few words. It is possible, definitely. Sometimes even the Dharma itself, certain aspects of the Dharma, I can say, you may not accept it and you will have, your perspective will change, you will not be happy. But it is the Dharma, it is the truth. Yeah. If it's the truth. Some people cannot face certain truths and it will change your perspective. So that's just on the basis of a few words. But all of us go through life difficulties. We go through people insulting us. We go through problems, self-created. Some problems are more obviously we self-created. We caused a problem. We said something. We did something. We neglected something. we were negligent, we were not careful, then we create a problem. Some problems seemingly come from the external. For example, the virus, the lockdown, stock market, our business, our company, our friends, our family, But ultimately, it's from us. How we react to those situations will reflect our state of mind. Will reflect our state of mind and our practice, and how we create further karma. All right. So it is possible, believe it or not. For some of you, maybe you intellectually believe me. Maybe you think, yeah, it's possible. You think logically, maybe it is possible, but you have no idea. There are people who, in the midst of chaos, in the midst of problems, in the very midst of problems, they are extremely calm inside. It is possible. And for high advanced practitioners, Rinpoche is one example. Sometimes in a fit of rage, it looks like Rinpoche lost his mind, but actually he's very, very calm. He's very, very calm. He has a purpose in doing so. And that is for an advanced practitioner like Rinpoche. He's not just advanced, he has higher realizations that's beyond you and me. So if Rinpoche is able to do that, we're able to control ourselves. At the moment, we will not be able to be calm completely, but we can control at least our reaction. All right, so the purpose of the Dharma is to find some peace of mind to our problems. The Dharma itself, will not give you the solution directly, as in, this is you do this, all your problems will be solved. No, the Dharma cannot solve your problems. You have to solve your problems. And how you solve the problems is understanding how your mind operates, understanding how you react. And recently, I just before I finish, I thought this is very, very interesting, because I've saw a video right now, this afternoon, about maturity, emotional maturity. It is so incredible, interesting, because it's actually a video that is for us to self-examine of how emotionally mature we are. Okay, there are 3 markers of it, of how emotionally, when we encounter this one, the scenario they gave as an example is someone who we depend emotionally, disappoint us, or disappoint us very badly lah. So our response is how do we respond? There's 3 ways we can respond. 3 markers, they call it the 3 markers, which is okay. Do we respond by sulking? That means okay, let me see, what was it? I also forgot what it was already. Just give me a small moment. I think it's very, very important. I put it on my Facebook. And because I was just, wow, Of course, it takes forever to load. The 3 markers. Just give me a short moment. We're going to end soon, don't worry. I'm not going to go on forever and ever. Yes. Do we communicate our feelings? Sometimes we sulk, we're unhappy, we sulk, and then we refuse to say why we're unhappy because we're unable to articulate why we're unhappy. So do we have the level-mindedness when we are completely disappointed by people we care about? The example is people, it could be situation, it could be something else. That's one marker. Another one is can we stay calm? Because some people, immediate reaction is they get angry. They retaliate, they complain, they become a Karen. Have you seen what's Karen? Karen is not a person, okay? It's a stereotype of a person who is argumentative and who's difficult. All right? And then the third one is vulnerability, because some people, they just become very cold. So their reaction is to distance themselves. So these are the 3 markers of an emotionally mature person. So do you approach a crisis or difficulty with a person or a situation by any of the three? Like we can, just don't know how to articulate why we're upset. We cannot say it. We refuse to say it. We don't want to say it because we find it difficult to express. Communication. Second one is staying calm, staying mature and calm, and at least to a point where we see because sometimes we don't even care if the other person, what their excuse is, what their reasons are. It could be a valid reason. We don't care because at the moment we are angry. We want to lash out. We want to punish the person. And the third one is, do we allow ourselves to be hurt, to be, do we maintain communication? Because some of us, we don't want ourselves to be vulnerable. We don't want to be disappointed because we feel vulnerable. So we become distant. All right? So is this tree? It's very, very powerful, I thought. So if, I don't know if you're my friend, you just go on my wall and you'll see there's a video explaining this much better than how I just did. But I thought it was very wonderful because it's very dharmic. It is how we approach crisis and people from the standpoint of attachment, from the standpoint of how, we operate, okay, on a basis of our anger, of delusions, and so forth. Thank you very much, and that's the end of today, of understanding the mind. A very nutshell, no higher philosophy of emptiness and all that, just on the basis of very basic understanding of the mind. And I'll throw in a little bit of Tantra and all that, to give you a more in-depth understanding of very basic principles. All right, thank you very much. Jeju Sencho Rinpoche Mahipana Gyushi Keba Yama Mipa Yang Go Nego to Pewa Show Tony Tonga Rinpoche Mahipana Gyushi Keba Yama Mipa Yang Go Nego to Pewa Show Daso Chini Sapa Gewadi Tanandroa Kunlan Kampada Jeba Jesu Lawson Drapa Tamping Purindo Sao She Show Kewa Gunto Yanda Lamada Dremi Jogi Pala Long Choching Sada Langi Yondera Chotni Doji Changi Gopang Yuto Show Gewadi Yuto Malupa de Sala Gopasho, Jijabo Songaba, Jozo Nama Peola, Gigi Jamajiwadan, Tuti Malushan Show, Dada Shagi Dosundan, Jewish Letany, Yawalo Santrapai, Tamparin Ba, Gushi, Nemo Della Santala, Nemicoyan Delection, Yasanta to Della Pel, Consciously Chingilo, Consciously Modoso, Consciously Tashi Show, Jason Lamakuso of the Jane, Namka Chilin Gigapadan, Los Antami Drumin Sansogi, Drumusutatu Negus, Gandhi Rawe, Coalition Gundam, Penandel Malokion, and Chenrezi 1000 Jaso, Shabby City Badu Dangush, Hong Dobing or Drumalupa, then the Dallas or so, Quarantine Balojana, gave us a shook the cell. Thank you, everybody, and good night. Oh, by the way, let me see what's next week. Next week will be past and future lives. Oh, that'll be interesting. Thank you very much. Good night.